Well, good evening. It is terrific to be here in this lovely reminder of days gone by and also future days to come. I have been privileged to serve as the mayor of the city of Lima since November 1989. So this is my 20th year, and this is not the first time we have partnered with the city of Fort Wayne on this issue. A month after I was elected, in January of 1990, is when Amtrak announced that they were being forced off the old Pensy line by Conrail. And I picked up the phone and I called then your mayor, Paul Helmke, and talked for the first time about how we could partner. And during that year, there were a number of activities that we did together in order to try to convince the officials in Washington that we needed, the 50,000 people who got on the train in Lima and here in Fort Wayne, needed to keep the Capitol Limited and Broadway Limited running through our towns. Unfortunately, we didn't prevail. But we didn't give up either, and we continued to work throughout the decade of the 90s, and at one point met in Chicago with Amtrak officials talking about a study to reestablish the line, and this was after all of the second and third rails that had been pulled out in the signals, and we were informed it would cost us $130 million to reestablish some kind of passenger rail. And Paul and I were both pretty upset about that news. But again, we didn't give up. And we linked then with the Midwest Rail folks and ultimately with the rail planners at the Ohio Rail Development Commission on the Ohio Hub Plan. About 6 years ago, I was able to invite and convince Mayor Rich Daley, Mayor Graham Richard, obviously Fort Wayne's mayor, Mayor Columbus Mike Coleman, and the mayor of Pittsburgh to join me in a letter that we sent to then Governor Taft. And we were able to then convince the governor that a third leg needed to be added to the Ohio Hub Plan that would bring a line through from Chicago, Fort Wayne, Lima, Columbus, and Pittsburgh. And that is now tentatively a part of, it's kind of that dotted line that was referred to before. It's a dotted line in the Ohio Hub Plan. And the reason it's a dotted line is, frankly, as we were told very much this week, it has to do with the lack of progress on this side of the Indiana-Ohio line. So I'm here today to tell you that we absolutely depend upon the citizens of Fort Wayne and Northeast Indiana to motivate your legislators and the state of Indiana to, in fact, do what needs to be done quickly, responsibly, to reestablish a line and the plans that are necessary to bring high-speed passenger rail through our communities. This is not something we can do. We can obviously encourage, as I'm hopefully doing today, the kind of action that took place just the last couple of weeks in Ohio. Because Governor Strickland proposed a budget that would reestablish regular passenger rail for the first time, I believe, in 30 years from Cleveland to Columbus to Cincinnati, and fought that through this budget year, when everything is so decidedly negative, with the help of literally tens of thousands of citizens writing every day to legislators in Columbus. They passed a budget this week that includes money for that process. This can be done. This can be done now. This can be done by the action of individuals like you being in touch in a very personal way, in an immediate way with those that represent you. The folks that you vote for to send to Indianapolis, the folks that you depend upon to act in your interests, need to hear from you about what your interests really are. And yes, we all love our automobiles. But automobiles are not the only way to travel, and in fact, for many reasons, they shouldn't be the way we travel sometimes. We also need high-speed passenger rail, linking all of us in the Midwest. We will live our lives differently, we will live our lives better with high-speed passenger rail complementing an efficient highway system and an efficient air passenger system. So, I know we have some other folks here from Lima in the back who are also here to encourage you to be active in Northeast Indiana to make this happen. I'm pleased to be here today to continue literally a 20-year partnership between Lima and Fort Wayne to make sure that we get high-speed passenger rail built in our communities and linking us to the rest of the nation. Congratulations. Great afternoon.
I'd like to introduce City Councilwoman Karen Goldner, and she's here for a special reason, and that is she's a board member of the Downtown Improvement District. Plus, she worked very hard a decade ago to try to bring us to where we are today in this long evolutionary process of bringing rail back to Fort Wayne. Karen?
Good afternoon. If I hold this, I won't have to stand on my toes. It is a shame to not see anybody here today. Wow. Thanks all for coming. Passenger rail and high-speed rail is a huge issue in Fort Wayne. It's been discussed much more eloquently than I could ever say. But I want to give you a little quiz, okay? And the answer is going to be either effective or ineffective, okay? Go home tonight and tell your family how important it is to have passenger rail in Fort Wayne. Is that an effective strategy or an ineffective strategy? Ineffective strategy. Okay, go to breakfast tomorrow with the gang and grouse about how it's bad that we don't have high-speed passenger rail here in Fort Wayne. Effective or ineffective? Ineffective. Go home tonight, get online, find the email for your state legislator and send him or her an email saying we need funding to do the engineering work that Mayor Berger talked about so that we can be ready for high-speed passenger rail investment in Fort Wayne. Effective or ineffective? Effective. Write a letter tomorrow to Governor Daniels saying the same thing, that we need to make that investment. Do you think that would be effective or ineffective? Effective. Wait 6 months and write a letter. Ineffective. Think about writing a letter. Ineffective. Write the letter. That's effective. You're going to have some more specific pieces of information from the subsequent speakers, and so I won't take any more time. But what made the difference in getting Fort Wayne on the line in 2002-2003 was huge numbers of people turning out at rallies, and then those people turning that passion and energy into contact with the state government. We have to do it all over again. It took the city of Fort Wayne and city leadership to work with all of those volunteers as well, and we have that now. But we need your help, okay? The governors used to hear in Mayor Henry want more stuff, okay? That's not something the governor normally pays any attention to, frankly, because what's the mayor going to call him and say he wants less stuff for Fort Wayne? Of course not. But if people in Fort Wayne, and let's just clarify and say those are registered voters in Indiana, right? Say to an elected official that they want him to make this investment and that we have to make this investment. That is effective communication. That is something that each and every one of you can do that frankly the mayor can't do very well. The mayor will do what he can do, which is talk to the governor at that level. But he needs all of us behind him. So, how many people are going to go home tonight and get online and send an email to their state legislator, honestly, but a show of hands?